your blueberries look like shit, or maybe they look okay and they're just not producing well. If you want a blueberry that grows 16 inches in 2 months, this is the video for you. All right guys, today I want to talk about blueberries. We've got one blueberry that's doing really, really well, and we've got two other ones right over in here that are not doing very well at all. And I want to talk about how you can make these two blueberries do just as good as this one and why this one is doing so much better. All right guys, so a lot of times when you have a problem with a blueberry, it's actually your pH. But a lot of people don't know how to change it. People say use vinegar. I've also seen some people say use peat moss, and I've seen people say use coffee grounds. Now, all of those will work temporarily. If you're going to use something like coffee grounds, then it would not last for very long, and you'd want to make sure that you used a fresh coffee ground, not used coffee grounds. But today I want to get into actually how to fix this problem long term. What can you do that's really going to help you to have vibrant blueberries and what's going to make all the difference in the world. This one right here, we actually did what I'm going to teach you about in this video at the beginning of this year. These two we did not, because I really wanted to show and really kind of prove to myself what kind of a real difference we can make. It's extremely cheap and it's way easier than all of the other methods that you're finding. And yes, it is organic.
If you're having difficulties, the cat can come help you.
All right, guys, so the first thing you want to do, you want to get your mat back here. You want to get your little tester. If you don't have one of these testers, I'll drop a link down below. We got this one on Amazon. I've been really pleased with this one. It's actually good for testing your water and your soil and your pH. I really like it so far, but we'll drop that down in there. But you just want to test a couple different places around your plant, and then the bigger your plant gets, the farther out you want to test. A really good way to test when it comes to trees and bushes and shrubs is however far out your leaves are, straight down. That's how far out you want to test. That's how about how far out you want to fertilize or do anything to change your soil. So as this gets bigger, obviously you want to test farther out. But for now, I'm just testing right in here. And the reason we're making this video is if you want to get in real close, Savannah, right here on this plant, we're just starting to get a little bit of this red. This is something fairly normal that you'll start to see with blueberries. We didn't have this on this plant at all. We had it on the other two for the last couple months during the growing season. We're coming to the end of the growing season, and we've just started to notice it on this plant. And that's what told me that this plant was starting to get some of the same stuff that that plant was. We can talk about in another video what this is and how and kind of ways to fix this. But typically, if your pH is right, you'll take care of most of your problems because the plant will start to take care of itself. So the number one thing you want to do with everything is take care of your pH. Okay, on this plant, just as I suspected when I first got out here, the soil around this plant was about a 5 on the pH scale, maybe a 5.1. And the soil on these other two blueberries, even though they did produce pretty well, were getting close to a 7. So it was about a 6.7, 6.8, somewhere in there. And some of them, in some places, as I would test around, would actually be closer to a 7. Blueberries want to be acidic, so they want to be below a 7. A lot of people say that blueberries need to be a 6. My personal experience is blueberries do best at about 5.5 to even 5. Maybe that's just us, I don't know, but I do best when I'm at that 5. So test your soil a couple times and get that down, and understand that in the beginning of the year, if your pH is one thing, it may be slightly different. Whatever the minerals are in your soil, that's going to be what your pH is going to try to go back to all the time. The minerals in our soil keep us at about a 6.5, sometimes 7, okay? So our soil is always going to try to come back to that 6.5 range. So for our peaches, we're going to want to raise back to around the 7, 7.5. For our blueberries, we're going to want to lower that pH back down. That's just the nature of all soils, okay? So get you a blueberry, get you a pH meter so you can check all of that. This pH meter right now is reading a 6.8. So the pH is starting to rise back on this blueberry. It's still growing really well, but we're starting to see those red dots. And I believe that that is why. So this one right here, now that I've tested it, has actually moved up to an 8. Now the reason the pH moved up so high on these is because we've got such good fertility. The earthworms are really starting to work this soil over. Earthworms will actually bring your pH to around a 7, sometimes a little bit higher. So even though earthworms are really good for your soil overall, when it comes to blueberries, sometimes you have to watch it because they can fertilize your soil and still allow it to allow stuff to grow, but it's not the best thing for the blueberry overall. Okay guys, so what I have in my hand is pure sulfur. To me, this is the best way, is minerals, period. Minerals is what is controlling the pH in your soil. Minerals is the reason your pH is what it is. Now, there are other things that affect your pH, like if you go out and mulch a woods down, then you'll actually see the pH change a little bit. If you put something like vinegar or something like that in your soil, you'll see it change a little bit. But those are temporary changes. The minerals that are in your soil that are breaking down from the rock, that is going to be that's going to be what the pH is always going to reset at, unless you have a new type of rock, a new type of mineral that is introduced. That's why things like sulfur and lime are the two best things to bring your pH up or down. Now, there are other minerals that can do it. Sulfur is actually very affordable. I've got a 40-pound sack. Oh, no, this is a 25-pound sack, and I don't even remember what I paid for it, but it's very, very cheap. I want to say like $7, something like that, and this will last me for a long time. This little bit right here is all that I need to change the pH in a 16 square foot area. So that's going to be 4 foot this way and 4 foot that way. That's all that I need to change the pH right here in this area. Now, this should last for at least a year. I'll check it every year, but it's possible to last me longer than that. My maintenance dose will be about half of this. Savannah, how many ounces is this?
3.
So this is 3 ounces. Now, when you look this up on Google, some people say it's a little bit less. They might say 3.5. They might say 2. Some people say different things. This much is how much it takes to lower the pH one number. So if your pH was at an 8 and you wanted to get it down to 7, then you would use about 3 ounces. So that's going to be about almost a half cup. Now, these numbers are actually really important. So this plant right here was a pH of 8. This one over here was 7.6. Now, a lot of people says, well, that's just one number, so can I just put this same amount of sulfur on this plant versus that plant over there? Well, if Savannah goes and looks at all 3 plants, go ahead and look at all 3 plants right now. And it's actually pretty obvious that this plant is doing worse than any of your plants. That's because the pH is the highest on this one. So every number is actually about 100 thousandths of a difference in your scale as it's dropping. So it's not just dropping a little bit. So an 8 to a 7 is a huge difference. Okay, so you want to make sure that you get this ratio right, because you don't want to drop this down to a pH of 4 and then mess it up. And you also don't want it, if this is an 8, you want to make sure that you actually get that down to your 5 points. So we're going to do our math, and we know that we want to come from an 8 all the way down to about a 5 to a 5.5. All right, guys, so when we check the pH in all of these different areas, we range from about a 7 to an 8. So I did not put exactly 3 times as much in here. I just went to about a cup. So I came from a little bit under a half cup, which is what it would take. So that's 3 ounces. So I probably went to about 6.5 ounces, because I'd rather be a little bit under and then come back next year if it doesn't look quite right. I don't want to just way overdo it. I'd rather, especially when you're changing it that much. So we're going to sprinkle this in this whole area. It's kind of hard to move this mat all the way back, but I'm going to show you in the video what we're going to do across all of it. We know that we want to be about this far, about 2 foot from the plant. It's going to be about a 4x4 area. Try and get an even coating on all of it. All right, so when you get your sulfur on, understand that it's going to take you a little bit. It's not going to happen immediate. If you put something like vinegar or something, it might happen a little bit quicker, but I wouldn't suggest doing that. Personally, I suggest actually just solving the problem. So it's not going to happen overnight like taking a pill. But what it is going to do is it's going to start to change that pH, and then the plant is going to have everything it's going to need. So when you change the pH in your soil, the plant is all of a sudden able to uptake all of the minerals that it needs to defend the problems that's going on, like these red spots that you start to see showing up on these leaves. Your plant can all of a sudden defend against all of that, along with other types of pests and things like that, and it's going to be able to start to pull up the nutrients that it needs to get everything. So it's going to take just a little bit of time, but it's not going to take that much time. The best thing you can do now is to cover this up, lightly water it in, and then water it for about a day or two. But you want topical water. We have water lines, drip lines underneath here, but what we need is actual topical water the first day or so, just to actually get that lime to penetrate down into the soil. Once we get a couple times where we've actually watered it topically and we know that it's draining down into the soil, after that we can just use our water lines or whatever.
Do you need some super glue? Super glue it back on?
There we go. Your blueberries look like shit.